All right, guys, the weather's getting nice outside, and I've been missing doing my doing my cinematography out here. There's a lot of beautiful landscape out here, and yeah. So we're gonna for this trek into DIY tech, we're going to continue the work on the drone that I've been building up from that Z550 frame that we did before. I'll link to the video so you can see how the frame goes together. But in this one, we're going to go ahead and transfer the motors over, the ESCs, and maybe the power distribution board if we have enough time. And I'm going to break these videos up so that you can just go straight to the video, you know, whether it's the flight controller, the motors, we'll break it down by component, so that way it'll be easier for you guys to watch. So we're gonna take to start out. So this is a drone, and I'll link to the video for this drone as well. So this is this drone is a waterproof drone. It used to carry a gimbal down there, and this was the drone that I was using before. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the components out of this one and transfer them over to the ZD550. And so now what I'm going to say is we're going to have a few challenges because that is the cheapest kit that I found out there for a folding drone. So if you see it actually folds up. That comes with a lot of things. We're gonna have to do some rigging to get that to work, because I do want to install a gimbal, so I want to put my 4K camera on there, and we're also gonna go through, you know, how to remotely trigger the camera and get some video back from it. So yeah, we're gonna do a lot of stuff with this drone. So before we get started, you may be asking yourself, if the other frame is waterproof, why would you want to switch to a cheaper frame that's not waterproof? This camera's not waterproof, so highly unlikely that I will be doing any of my recording during rainy times. So the other thing is, I want a little bit more battery life. By stripping the waterproofing out of the drone, I'm gonna gain a few minutes of battery life using that same battery and that same powertrain that we've got in here. So those are the reasons that I'm doing this, and also, you know, I just want you guys to see how this thing goes together. Yeah, I've already done the other drone, so let's give this one a shot. Let's get to it. All right, guys, we'll see if the audio's good. If the audio stays good, we'll go ahead and use the audio. But if not, we'll add some narration to this. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna strip this down, take all the parts out of it. I'm gonna save this case. This case is nice. So there's a gasket that goes around the edge of this to seal all of this up. The flight controls are already out of it. I think we're gonna save the booms, and we're gonna switch out the. So I'm gonna show you the difference between the two, so you can see. Ooh, they might be too short. We'll see. But I kind of don't like the way how thin this is for putting the screws through. I designed the booms on this guy. You can see there how much material we've had. Now, granted, this is 3D printed, and I might get these printed in nylon later. This is I think this is regular PLA. And I also have the LEDs. This is an RGB LED that I have on there, so I have the booms are already set up with those. So we might keep these booms if the prop's clear, and use the booms as well as the motors. So we might yeah, we may leave the motors on there, just remove the booms completely, use those. And so really cool. These are KDE motors. I don't know if you guys are familiar with KDE, but they make some really robust motors. So these will be good for our purposes, since we'll be carrying the camera. And these are also compatible with the Phantom 4 style props. So we're gonna use the motors. Definitely, we're probably gonna keep the booms, and we have pre-wired. The LEDs are pre-wired, so this might work out really nicely. We're gonna do something with Arduino for the lights, so that we can control the lights. And we're probably also going to have it so that the lights can indicate different things. So let's move that tuning fork out of there. So we'll have it so that the lights can give us different indications, like the low battery and so forth. We're gonna get that information over Q ground control, but it would be cool if, for instance, if I have the volume turned all the way down or something like that, and I don't hear the warning, and I'm not looking at the screen, that the quadcopter itself can give me an indication of what's going on. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through and probably disconnect all these ESCs. I'm going to mark the position of all of the booms in case we do wind up using these. I'll know which motor is which, because they're already matched up with the ESCs. So here we go. Okay, so these connectors that you see me pulling apart here, so they're not used really in the FPV circles, but used a lot when you have separate ESCs and motors this way. Usually when you have 4-in-1 ESCs, you solder the wires right to the ESC. But in this situation, it allows you to separate the motors from the ESCs when you have larger builds like this. And these particular ones carry a lot of amperage, so they're really good in cases where you have builds and you keep moving, motors and ESCs around. I'll put a link in the description down below so you guys can see where I pick these up. And you can, again, like I said, you can pick up like bags of these. So if you're constantly changing the length of the motor wires and things like that, these are really handy for that. So one of the things I did was for water ingress. So if any water got into the booms, this opening, I made a slotted opening. So the bottom of it is high, so that the water wouldn't be able to come in this way. There's a weep hole at the bottom of the booms that would let the water out as well. So just one feature that's in these. You won't have to worry about that in the new drone. So let's just back these out, and just like that. There you go. There's one. Now at this point, that looks like a really big mess. After I took out the flight controller, all the tie wraps were cut, and so everything just coiled up. But I feel like I need to give you a little background on the drone that these parts are coming out of. It had an FPV camera, as you can see there, as well as the slung under 3-axis camera mount for the action camera. And it also had those retractable landing gear. And if you look on the back, we had the dual battery inputs for that. So yeah, so that's that's what we're taking all these parts out of to put into this ZD550 drone kit. All right, let's continue. We'll see you when I've got the other three out. So, interesting thing about these ESCs, there's a programming adapter that plugs in plugs into here, and then you can plug in the USB, and there's a program on your computer you can use to tune these ESCs. So we're getting to that later after we have everything built back up. This plugs right into the flight controller, distributes all the PWM signals to the ESCs, as you can see there. And then all of these ESCs are getting power from this one power distribution board here. So I had two connectors in this drone, and that was for a second battery. So we're going to have an auxiliary or a failover, what they call the failover. If the first battery fails, it automatically switches to the next battery. So I never got to finish that. Maybe we'll finish it on this next drone. But a few other things that I had put in there as well. So I have battery out, and I'm thinking that was for the Arduino that was going to be the co-pilot in here. And this is the power for the camera. So I had a little back in there for the camera. So cool. So those are already in there, so we won't have to do any extra soldering there. So here I had specifically added 5 volts into here for the ESC logic. So some ESCs have logic that's powered from the battery. These have the option to have the ESC logic powered from a second source. So for example, say you wanted to add the battery in there specifically to keep the electronics going, that's separate from the motors, a really good safety feature. You could do that, and this would give you the ability to do that. And you see, we also have 2 additional spots on this breakout for, if we wanted to turn this quad into a hex with 6 motors, we could do that easily right there. So that's what we have going on there. All right, so moving on to the next thing is liberating this power distribution board, and all of this should be able to come out with it. One other thing that we have in there, so we have a Y cable So this Y cable is connected to channel 5, and channel 5 was is the channel that controls their retractable landing gear. So we have retractable landing gear in here, which we're going to transfer it to the we're going to transfer that to the new drone, because if we have a camera that can move 360, right? Why do we want to have these? Why do we want to have the landing gear in the way? We'll put those to good use here. So let's go ahead and extract everything else. All right, I think that's everything. Squeeze through those notches there. All right, now this one will go to the museum and get put away. Maybe, who knows, maybe it'll get put back together at some point in the future. But for now, we will. Almost looks like an inverted ice cream sandwich, doesn't it? So this beige plastic is an homage to the old computer cases that some of us know, right? It was all beige plastic back then. Anyway, here we go. So that's all our pieces. So we're gonna combine that together with this frame, and hopefully we have a functional drone quadcopter after this. So I kind of hated taking that frame apart because that one in particular performed very well. But as always, we're on a really tight budget, so cannot afford to buy new parts. So we're just gonna use those parts, and we're gonna move forward with the next project and see where that takes us. So now we literally have a box full of parts. So I've decided to go ahead and do the whole thing the way the frame came. So in other words, we're gonna use these motor mounts and the actual arms that came with this guy, and we'll put it together as the frame came in the box first, and then maybe we'll to make improvements, we'll do 3D printing and stuff like that. I do also have some parts already to replace where the battery goes to make this shorter. So that's also going to be in a follow-up video, and that's so that we can stabilize the camera a little bit better. So let me put this box down. So these might get a little shorter. Also, these might get a little shorter because the battery's actually about half that size there. And as I said before, we're gonna use the retractable landing gear from the other drone. So that's coming in the next video. I decided to put that in a separate video and make this just a disassembly of the original drone, because a lot of times during deconstruction of things we learn quite a bit. So we're gonna have the next one in the series will be assembling the parts that we just harvested from the other drone into the 550, right? So let's see how that goes. As always, I appreciate the time you spent with me, and we'll see you in the next video.